Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Turbine Talk, a show for the people with a passion for mobility. The show is brought to you by Jeep. It has been an absolutely a long, long time that I've been in front of the screen. Uh, I've got my lights set up. I've got the camera here. I've got the traditional all white background. I've got my suit on. I got my tie on. My rings, my accessories have changed a little bit. I've just got this one ring, wink. Uh, Moving on, I just wanted to say before we go on to the show that it's been a while. I missed you guys. I missed each and every one of you. And I would like to personally thank everybody who has taken the time to text me, to send me messages, hit me up on IG and whatnot, asking me how I've been, when are we going to do the next show. I like to express my gratitude. Thank you for the love. I really appreciate it. Let's move on to the show because we've got something very, very, very special here today. For the first time in Bangladesh, what we've been able to do is bring to you a guest whose influence in the car culture, in the automotive culture, has been nothing short of magnanimous. This gentleman who is going to appear on screen in a few bits, uh, I personally, and I know most of you as well, have grown up watching. He's been heavily influential in the tastes of automobiles, the cars that I prefer and love. And those of you who are, and I know there are a lot of you who love Supras, and a lot of you who loves the Skyline GTRs, and that's just only two of this is just the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg of all the things that this man has influenced. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further delay, I would like to bring to the screen my guest, my friend, Mr. Craig Lieberman.
There we go. Hello, hello, hello.
Oh,
Shuvo Shanda Ama Bandha. Am I close enough?
you're very close enough. Craig Lieberman, Craig, hello, hello, hello. I'm very glad that you could join us today. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to talk to you. Craig, Bangladesh is now watching you live. How are you doing, Craig? How
I'm
has
doing. I am doing well. Thanks for asking. And we're here in Southern California, United States of America, where COVID is starting to lift and we are giving our mobility back. People are getting vaccinated. And for our country, things are moving forward. So it's good for us. And I'm hoping you guys are doing better as well.
That's a very good note to start it off with. For everybody who's watching, Craig, as he said, is joining us live from Cali right now. Craig, I'm going to give a very, very short introduction for you, but then I'm going to hand it over to you. But before I do that, I'd like to remind everybody that the chat lines are open right now. Please feel free to join in. If you have any questions if you have any questions for the legend himself, Craig Lieberman, feel free, and I'll try my level best to bring up all the questions that you guys have for him. Craig, for those, and I'm pretty sure most of you know, but those of you who have been living under a rock, and I don't know why you have been, but those of you who have been living under a rock, Craig Lieberman is one of the Craig Lieberman is the technical advisor for Fast and the Furious. He is he's an artist. He's an artist. He's a technical advisor for Fast and the Furious. I think he was also the tech advisor for Need for Speed Underground, if I'm not mistaken. But we're gonna absolutely hear about all of that in details. I cannot do justice to this man. Craig, let's begin the show with the first question is, Craig, give us, people in Bangladesh, an introduction of who you are, please.
Okay. Well, you got it right. I was a technical advisor for the first movie, Fast and Furious 1, and the second movie. And then I helped with finding certain cars for use in Tokyo Drift. I
Mm-hmm.
also owned the orange Supra from the first movie. This was my personal car, which
Mm-hmm.
Universal had rented from me and then used it for the character Brian Spillner, of course, we all know. And then
Mm-hmm.
my Skyline GTR, which looked like this before the movie.
Oh,
When they
wow.
when they rented it, they turned it into this.
Which is still not bad.
Well, let's just say I didn't agree with the modifications, but basically it was my job to work with Universal's production team, and
Mm-hmm.
in particular the people who were actually installing the parts on the cars, in order to say, hey, these are the types of parts we should be looking for and getting. And then I would call these companies to see if I could get these parts, if we can get them for free or we can get them for low discounts, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And picking out the body kits for the cars, picking out the wheels for the cars, the wings, all the accessories that we were put on the cars. It was also part of my job to find the cars that we would actually use in the movie. So I spent a lot of time with Universal's production team going over, hey, these are the cars that you should consider using in the movie because these are the popular cars in the tuner world. So that
Right.
included cars that everybody knows: Honda Civics, Honda Integras, Toyota Supra, Nissan 240SX,
Mm-hmm.
those
Mm-hmm.
kinds of cars. And so my co-technical advisor, RJ De Vera, who was instrumental in helping with these casting calls to get these cars up to Universal's offices. Every Friday, we would show up with a new batch of cars, and they could choose from those cars. And they rented most of the cars that the actors drove from private owners. So people like me, we basically hand over our keys, and they pay us for the use of the car, and then they
Right.
change the car. Sometimes they painted the car. Most of the times, they painted the car and put different decals on it. Sometimes different body kits. For example, the Supra that Universal rented from me looked like this before the movie.
Oh,
That's what it looked
wow.
like. And then you can see it's a very modest body kit, a very modest wing on the car. And then after that, they did this. A little bit different.
A little bit different. I've actually seen that overboost picture. I've actually seen that overboost picture
Yeah,
before.
it's on the internet. That's the only good, clear color photo I have of my car, if you can believe that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So,
Craig, before you move on, and I want to hear about this a lot furthermore in a lot more detail. But we are just going to take a very short break. We're gonna hear from our sponsors, and when we come back, we're gonna talk more about you. And there are a whole lot of questions. I can already see that my chat lines are blowing up. Coming back to the chat lines as well. But ladies and gentlemen, we've got Craig Lieberman here with us today. Well, we're going to talk Fast and the Furious. We're going to talk NFS, but most of all, we're going to talk about this man and his love for cars. Ladies and gentlemen, stay with us. My name is Shad Hussain, and we shall be right back. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Turbine Talk with me, Shad Hussain. Turbine Talk is brought to you by Jeep, as you can clearly see from the number of promotions that we've just done. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you who have just joined us, I'm here talking to the legendary Craig Lieberman, the man behind most of the cars of Fast and the Furious, the man behind the game that changed my life, Need for Speed Underground. This man is an artist. He's an automotive enthusiast. And he's with us here today. Craig, can you hear me? Craig, are you there?
Hang on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Okay,
you
good.
fine.
All right. I was worried.
Great.
There's like, what happened?
So, ladies and gentlemen, Craig Lieberman is here. But before we move on to Craig and continue the conversation with him, let me just take a quick look at the chat lines here today. We have Mrs. Shamzed Rahman here, Mrs. Sadat Saif is here, Mr. Neon is here, Mr. Sharaf Sinha is here, Libu is here. One of our good friends, Mrs. Saeed Akash Hussain, is here. It's his birthday today. Mr. Akash Hussain, happy birthday. Many happy returns of the day. Farhan Haq is here. Farhan Haq has asked me to kindly lower my volume of my mic, but I think this is better now. Anyway, moving on. Let's get back to Craig. Craig, you were saying.
I forgot.
So you were saying about how the Fast and Furious, how you were involved in it.
Okay, we technical advisors talk we were having. Okay, so technical advisors, basically our role is to advise the production team about the subject matter. In this particular case, it was illegal street racing and the cars and the modifications on the cars. I was
Right.
focused on the cars as a technical advisor. RJ was focused on the illegal street racing scene and the wardrobe and that kind of stuff. So basically, the key word in that phrase is advisor. We give them advice. We make suggestions about the parts they should use on the cars, things like that. And then it snowballed. It developed into a bigger role over the time. They wanted to get the car sounds just right, so they hired me back as an advisor for the sound production, and we went out to a runway and airstrip, and where we brought the Supra, the Maxima, and a whole bunch of other cars, Eclipses, and all that kind of stuff, and we did speed runs up and down the runway. They have to get all kinds of sounds, like the car pulling away, the car revving, the car launching, the car doing high-speed flybys, full throttle passes, all that. So when we get there, they asked us, okay, you guys are going to drive your own cars, right? And we're like, well, we're not stunt drivers. They said, it's a straight road. You can't hit anything. I said, okay. So you're going to put these guys in charge of their own cars to do 140 miles an hour on airstrip? Okay, we have no problem with that. So we did that for a day.
Wow.
Actually, a couple of days. So there was a lot of things to it because at the time, Universal didn't have anybody on staff that knew anything about the Japanese tuner car world.
Right.
And because I was running the Naira drag race series in the United States, which was just for Japanese sports cars, Japanese cars, I had connections with a lot of the companies that could contribute to making the movie. And that's basically why I got hired. And that turned into about a 3-year adventure, all done, between the first movie and the second movie. The same thing. Sorry, go ahead.
I believe you often get asked as to why the Fast and the Furious universe has changed its direction from being an illegal street race concept to something that is very, very different at this day and age. But I don't think you have anything to do with that, or
No.
even when you were involved.
I stopped working on the movie after Tokyo Drift. That was the last movie I worked on for them. That's a great question. I get it all the time, and I'm going to give an answer that some people are not going to like, but it's the truth. Okay. Here's the deal. Movie companies are in business to make money. Number one priority. They are publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange. They need to make money. The first movie was produced for $40 million, $39 million, and made $211 million. Fast 7, which had nothing to do with illegal street racing, cost them I believe it was $150 or $180 million to make, and it made $1.5 billion with no
Oh
street racing.
man.
Okay, so remember that for a second. It's going to be relevant in a moment.
Okay.
After Tokyo Drift, which was the worst movie box office wise, it sold the least amount of money or made the least amount of money of all the movies. Universal was scratching their head and said, hey, we got to do something else. What are we going to do? And they did a lot of research, and it turns out that heist movies, theft movies, movies about people stealing stuff, some great conquest or burglary, whatever word works in your language,
Sure.
it becomes a heist movie. That's what we call it in the U.S. And then since then, they've just been doing it that way. In 2009, I think it was, Vin Diesel gave an interview for a magazine and said, we had to get away from the illegal street racing world because it just isn't enough interest for most people around the world. And think about this, no matter where you live, whether it's your country, India, Thailand, the United States, walk up and down your street and see how many people have JDM cars parked in their driveway that are all modified. Okay? It's a small number, right? Even
It's a very small.
Very
It's a very small
number.
number.
So think about your neighborhood. Every single person living in that neighborhood probably goes to a movie at some point in their life, right? But how many of those people actually have JDM cars downstairs or in their parking lot that belong to them, and they're all into illegal street racing? The answer is not a lot. Very, very globally, it's this much of the population. But everybody can understand, no matter how old you are, whether or not you know anything about cars, you understand the concept of a burglary, of a heist, of a theft. So then it becomes an action movie with cool cars. And so Universal is adamant about going down that path. They've done a lot of research about their audience. The largest audience, the largest segment of the audience is Latino, Hispanic, from South America, Central America, Spain, Portugal, Hispanic, Latino. That's the biggest audience. This is why you're seeing the incorporation of like Latino cultural elements, the music, the people, and all that kind of stuff. And they've done very well doing that approach because these movies are making a lot of money. Now, for people like your fans, people like me, they've lost a lot of the element of the JDM stuff that we like to see. But to their credit, they do make an effort in almost every movie to squeeze in a couple of cool JDM cars. And R34 Skyline is in almost every movie. You're going to see it again in Fast 9. And then they keep doing that as a tribute to Paul. Paul was a Porsche guy as well. You'll usually see a Porsche in one of the movies, and then the movie is at least one of those cars. So there's a lot of that going on. So they're not car movies really, but what other movie franchise is around today that produces a movie with all kinds of wonderfully expensive and exotic cars and then blows them up? There's not a lot of movies doing that. So I'm going to say it's still kind of a car movie, but it's not a car movie.
It's not a car movie. It's like the Italian Job.
Right.
Like the Italian Job.
If you were into minis, that was a lot of fun. But me as an American with a front wheel drive and a tiny little engine and a tiny little turbo, I wasn't very excited about minis. We're Americans. We like our big old V8 motors and all that kind of stuff, our carburetor and all that fuel injection stuff for all you boys out there. That's not for us, man.
That's not for us. I can do that accent a little bit too.
You did it well. The Texas accent, I call it.
That's the Texas accent.
No disrespect, but there's a lot of that. And the picture car teams are usually like that. The people who work in Hollywood, who build picture cars for a living, most of them are old white guys like me. And so people like us grew up in the muscle car era. I was never really a muscle car guy. I just wanted to do something different with my life. But most of them were ever given the opportunity. What should we use? What kind of car should we use for this character? Ford, Chevy, Dodge. Well, how about a Nissan Skyline? What?
Oh, what?
Japanese Corvettes.
Japanese Corvettes. Craig, that's amazing. We're gonna move on to a little bit of. We're gonna move away a little bit from Fast and Furious for just a second. We're gonna go into your personal automotive history, but before we do that, I can see that there are a few questions here already. Mr. Farhan Hawk has asked a very interesting question. He's asked that in Tokyo Drift, was the Mustang Fastback really an abomination with parts of different cars or just a stock car?
So most cars that you will see, especially cars that are being used for stunts, are usually pulled out of a junkyard, and they are reassembled using parts from other cars to get one complete car. But you have to understand that in each of the movies, they have the way they build the cars goes like this. They have one very pretty, shiny car. That's the one where the actor will pull up and come to a stop and then jump out, and it gets the close-ups, all that kind of stuff. That's called the hero car. Hero 1, okay? They usually have a copy of that car in case this one gets crushed for some reason. So they build a copy of that. That's Hero 2. Everything else is a stunt car. Sometimes they need 2 stunt cars. Sometimes they need 9 or 10 stunt cars. So the stunt cars are very rough. They're basically just a shell of a car with only the equipment they need to do the stunts. So it'll have tires and wheels, proper brakes, maybe an emergency handbrake for doing slides, that kind of thing. But they are not pretty cars. The actual Hero 1 Mustang was an RB26 equipped Mustang that was a junkyard rescue car. So.
Okay, cool. I think that answers the question for Mr. Farhan. We're going to take another very short break. We're just going to come right back because for those of you who've been wondering, with the promo that we had released, we had 2 guests on our panel today. So our special guest, Mr. Avik Anwar, will be joining us shortly. But at the moment, let's take a short break, and we'll be right back. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Turbine Talk with me, Shad Hussain. Today, as you all know, my guest of honor is Mr. Craig Lieberman, the legend behind a lot of the automotive constructs that is the car culture today. This legendary man has joined us live from California, and we are very glad to have him here. Also joining us today very shortly will be Mr. Avik Anwar. Mr. Avik Anwar, for anybody who's watching outside of Bangladesh, is one of the most pioneering race car drivers of Bangladesh. Before I move on to the questions with Craig Lieberman, I can see that there are other people who've also joined us. Mr. Ashraf Neon, he's said, such an amazing show. Love to learn about so many things. Mr. Omar Rahman has asked Craig Lieberman what he drives now. We're absolutely going to get to that. We're going to talk about his GTR. Mr. Chaudhary has asked about the GTR. Mr. Sadat Saif has asked a very interesting question, which I will be tackling towards the end of the show. Craig, we've just talked about Fast and Furious, which I'm pretty sure you've talked about 100 million times, but let's focus a little bit on you now. What we would like to know is your personal history with cars. So what your first car was and what you have now and everything along the way.
Oh gosh. Well, like most young people, my parents did not buy me a $100,000 Nissan GTR as my first car. I had a little turd car. It was a 4-door Isuzu I-Mark in this country. I think they call it the Gemini in other parts of the world.
The Gemini.
The Gemini, yeah. So it was silver when I bought it, and then I painted it Porsche red and put a big wing on the back of it. And we didn't have neon lights back in those days, so we had to go find the trucks, the big lorries that drive down the highway with the lights. We had to take those off and then stick them underneath our car. That was our poor man's neon kit back in the day. I come from humble beginnings, okay?
That's a fastback, isn't it? It's a fastback, isn't it?
No, there's two versions. There's a two-door hatchback, fastback, and there's a four-door sedan. I had the four-door sedan.
Oh, you had the four-door sedan.
It wasn't my choice. It was a free car. My dad gave it to me, so there was that. So I started off with that, and from there I had a V6 Capri from Europe, and then I went into Datsun 240Zs. I had two 240Zs at different times and a 260Z. After that, I've been through Datsun 510s, a Firebird, an old Camaro, some Mustangs from the early 1990s. God, there's a bunch of cars. I've had 40-something cars in my life. And then after Fast and Furious, I went through another Supra, 1,000 horsepower. I can't remember some of these cars. Porsche 996 Turbo, a wide-body M3 called Uber M3. So if you Google that phrase, that car still exists. It's a wide-body blue M3, a blue Lamborghini Diablo, a yellow Lamborghini Diablo, an SL600, CLK 55, Audi RS4. I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of cars. Lexuses I've had. So I've been through a lot of cars, but I'm in my 50s now. So when you get to be this age and you have an addiction that isn't drugs, but it's cars, this is what happens.
This is what happens. I think this is a much better vice than drugs.
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. Let me cut you off and ask you this. Why a Diablo and not a Countach?
I don't know if you've ever driven a Countach, but there's a phrase in America that goes like this: never meet your heroes. And it means, because you will be disappointed. Okay.
It's a ridiculous car to drive, isn't it? On a daily?
It's a horrible car. Horrible. First off, I was just watching Top Gear the other day, and they had a race between the Lamborghini Countach LP5000 and the Ferrari Testarossas. That's the picture of a car that I had on my wall. Everybody in my age grew up with a Lamborghini picture on their wall.
Me too.
And when I finally got to drive one, I was like, oh, God, this is horrible. But by that time, I was in the early 2000s, and the cars had come a long way since then. It's very difficult to back the car up. They're very mechanically unreliable. The fit and finish is horrible. Where they put the radio in the car is just stupid. It's like, I don't know what they were doing, but it's a beautiful car to look at. It is a rolling work of art for sure, but it is just not a good car. And the number one thing for me is that I don't care how well the car looks. Looks are secondary. It's like getting married, right?
Right.
You usually pick somebody, if you're smart, who a woman is good down to her heart and down to her soul, right?
Right.
She doesn't have to be, Miss Bangladesh, right?
No. Especially not now.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
Well, there you go. But you find something you like. And the same thing for me. A car has to have a soul. A car has to have performance that I can rely upon. And has to put a smile on my face every day. That's my main criteria. So with that said, my current car is an R35 GTR. This is the car I've owned the longest in my life. I've never owned a car more than 4 years until this car. And now I'm going on year 6 with this car, with my 2015 GTR. And it's been the best car I've ever owned.
Why has this car stood out more than any of the other ones?
Well, if you just do it by the numbers, 0 to 60 is religiously around 2.8 seconds. Name another car that can do that for under $300,000, right? You do a few modifications, intake, exhaust, fuel injectors, fuel pump, and a tune, and the car runs low 10-second quarter mile, 10 O's, 10-1. And you can drive it every day. It has a navigation system. It has air conditioning, has heated seats. It has a usable trunk. People say it's expensive to maintain. It's not. So I spend about $1,800 every 18 months on this car to maintain it. So
you spend about $1,800 every month to maintain this?
No, every 18 months.
Every 18 months.
Yeah, so about $100 a month in maintenance if you kind of
Right, right. Sure, sure,
amortizing.
sure.
So
Sure. Miss Fairuz Nahreen is has joined us in the show. She says such an anticipated show. The Bangladesh car community loves you, Mr. Lieberman. Miss Fairuz Nahreen is actually one of the most talented individuals that I personally know. She's been a hardcore viewer of this show for since the very beginning, and I think that one day she's going to run for office in New York, in America.
wow, okay,
Yeah,
that's
that's
cool.
what I think.
Only about 3% of my followers are women. So it's,
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, and mostly from outside the United States, if you can imagine that. But it's always
Mm,
fascinating to me when women take an interest in the car community, because
mm,
I have found, as you probably have, that people who come into the community, no matter what their knowledge level, they
hmm.
soon develop a passion for it. Like, and it's the same thing with all the women I've seen come through the community. They develop a
Right.
passion for it, and they've been around for a long time. Quite a few of my gal pals are car
Hmm.
people. My wife is a car person, so she's a
Yeah,
Porsche. She's a Porsche fanatic, although she's without a Porsche right now, but she comes from the Porsche world. So it is fun. You know, if you
I'm a Porsche guy.
are you?
I'm a Porsche guy. Yeah,
Very good.
absolutely.
Nothing wrong with Porsches. Can't say enough good things. Nothing wrong with it.
But having said that, the new Porsches, I personally feel the art is dying. I personally feel that with this movement of being trying to be commercial, it's losing soul. Because when I see a Boxer now, when I see the new 518, in fact, I think I just did a cover of the 518 a couple of months ago, and I looked at it. The Boxer is one of my most favorite convertibles ever. It's such a fun car to drive. But when you sit in a Boxster, Porsche makes sure you don't forget that you're driving a Porsche, because there's a Porsche badge here, there's a Porsche badge there, there's a Porsche badge here, there's a Porsche badge there. That's not required. You don't need to do that. You because I remember the Carreras from back in the day. What you had was just the emblem on the steering wheel and the Carrera on the back. And in fact, if you go further back, they didn't even have the Carrera on the back seat, on the headrest of the seat. It was pure. Now it's just, do you understand what I'm saying? That's just my opinion, though.
I
That's
do.
just my.
They're becoming too commercial in your eyes. I think with the Boxster is, to a lot of people, it's not a real Porsche, right? It's
No,
just not.
it's not.
You got
It's
to
not.
buy the GT4s and all that kind of stuff that came with that kind of stuff, in order to get people excited about it. But there's a lot of people just call them, overpriced Volkswagens too, because generally
Right.
speaking, they haven't changed. But I always laugh at that, because if you take a look at an old 911 from the 1970s or the old 912s, and you look at them, the back view of them side by side, the old Porsche is this big in the butt, and the new Porsche is like this. It's
This.
not the same car. I mean,
It's
yes,
not.
it has generally sort of the same shape. They are not the same cars. I mean, even my 996 Turbo, I drove my buddy's GT3 RS about a month ago, and it's
Hmm.
markedly different from the 996 twin turbo. So it's
Right.
definitely an evolution. They are very difficult cars to drive fast on the track too.
True. 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 Craig, let's get back to your GTR for a quick bit. So, what kind of mods do you have on your GTR right now?
So everybody does pretty much the same thing with a turbocharged car. I don't care if you're driving a 1.2 liter Fiat Panda or a
Hmm.
3.8 liter GTR. It's the same
Hmm.
thing. You open up the intakes, get them as big as you can get them, typically two and a
Hmm.
half, 3 inch, right? Then
Right.
after you do that, you do the downpipe or downpipes on a V6 motor. So open them
On
up
a
larger,
V6.
and then a
Right.
large exhaust with no restriction. I do have mufflers on my car, even though it blows through turbos, to keep it quiet, because I'm not a 20-year-old kid anymore, and I don't want to be screaming in the car, "Where do you
Sure.
want to go for dinner, Eddie?" Completely over that. This is what comes with old age. So there's that. And then
Right.
you have to, in order to turn the boost up, you need, some kind of computer program. I use Ecotech, which is a Bluetooth app, and plugs
Hmm.
into my OBD2 port, and my tuner sends me a map, and I download it, and off we go. And then injectors and pumps, fuel pumps, you need more fuel flow, and then an E85 conversion kit. That's what everybody does on a GTR. So you take it from 550 horsepower stock to about 650 horsepower at the wheels and about 640 pound-feet of torque. And I've been driving it like that for about 3 years now, and it's been bulletproof. So
this gentleman named Alif Chaudhry has a very interesting question for you. He's asked that there were some similarities between the Need for Speed Underground and the Fast and the Furious movies. Was the similarity intentional?
I think sort of it was. Okay, first off, it was clearly inspired by Fast and Furious, racing through the streets and all that kind of stuff. I'll tell you a little known fact about that video game. We actually built a real live version of that car. I don't know if you're aware of that. So
No.
this is the car. My partner and I, Neil Chin and I, built this car. This is an actual car.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this car.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was an actual car. It had a Bomex kit. It had the wheel. You notice the wheels are the same that were on the.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah,
right.
Because these wheels literally came off the movie car. When I got my car back, I took the wheels off, put them on this car, and I put different wheels on my R34. So.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So all right. So there's that. So once we built that car, I was asked to fly up to Vancouver, Canada, and sit down and play the game with the developers for about a week. And so they had this guy there who worked on the Star Wars movie, which was the one where they're riding the speeders through the forest. Is that Empire Strikes Back, I think?
I think that's Empire Strikes Back.
So the guy who did visual effects for that came on board with Need for Speed, with EA Games, and said, if you want to get the motion right, the street lights have to go by at a certain pace with a certain amount of blur, and then there's got to be light refractions going across the front of the car. And they worked on that for a very long time. Go back and watch gameplay on YouTube and pay attention to how the street lights are going by.
Okay? I know exactly what you mean, right?
And that was pioneering of the day. But my job was to say, give them input on, how the cars drove and all that kind of stuff. But again, I was a technical advisor, and they weren't really focused on making it accurate, because the way they said it is a lot of people who are playing this game have never driven a car. And then I said to them, basically, a lot of people who are playing this game and think they can drive a car should probably not drive a car.
Craig, we're gonna come back right to you in a quick second, but before we do that, we had in the promo discussed that there was a special guest who was supposed to join us today, and he is here today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to bring to the screen, Mr. Avik Anwar. I guess the champ is here. The champ is here.
Hi, assalamu alaikum, everyone. Hi, Craig. Good morning.
Good morning. Pleasure to meet you.
Same here. The feeling is mutual. It's a great honor to be in a live show presented by you and Mr. Shad. And I thank the sponsor, Jeep, for enabling us to do this.
Mr. Avik Anwar, welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show. Craig, a quick interesting fact. It was 1 year ago. I don't know, Mr. Avik Anwar, if he's going to remember this, but last year, exactly on this date, this was the first time that I had interviewed Mr. Avik Anwar.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's been a year? Same date? Wow.
Same day. I woke up this morning and my social media, Facebook showed me a memory, because I had shared the promo of that. And it was like, this was the first time that I interviewed Mr. Avik Anwar. I guess we've come full circle, haven't we?
Yep. Yes, we did. And we did it with the coronavirus too.
We did it with the coronavirus too.
Yeah.
Craig, let me introduce you to Mr. Avik. I've already given Avik bhai, I've already given Craig a short detail about you. Avik Anwar is one of the, and I mean this when I say this. I don't care about anybody else. I mean this when I say this. He's a matter of pride for people who are in Bangladesh. This man is a pioneer in the racing sector of this country.
Thank you. Thank you.
His accolades they're huge. Their accolades are huge. Mr. Avik Anwar, let me just, I know there are people outside of Bangladesh watching us today. For them, can you please give us a quick rundown of who you are and your
Um,
latest achievements?
my name is Avik Anwar. I am one of the first local racers to win a local championship 3 years in a row. Then I decided to race internationally. Now, bear in mind, we don't have any racetracks in Bangladesh, so we only practice on the simulator. And after 2 years of trying nonstop, getting a lot of hate from a lot of people about not winning races, I started winning them. I became the first international race winner from my country, and it's just been a straight line upwards from there. So I've won like five races now. Recently won an endurance race of 2 hours with another fellow Bangladeshi race car driver. And then I did a 9 hour endurance race, not 24 hours in Malaysia. So that was good. We only had two drivers, and the rest of the grid were like professional Japanese Super GT drivers or Le Mans drivers. And they're all laughing at us at the starting grid. Like, how can two drivers compete 9 hours? But we finished 14 in our class, so that was good too. And most recently, I won two races in one day at the Dubai Autodrome in the UAE Pro Car Championship. And then the next day, I won the endurance race. So it's been a good year so far, and I'm happy with the achievements, and I'm happy for the people of my country. So yeah,
We are proud of you. We are absolutely proud of you,
thank
and
you,
there's no
thank you.
doubt about that. What you have achieved from where your where your position was, what you have achieved, that is absolutely not a matter of joke.
I
We
would
are absolutely proud of you.
I would also like to add something. My racing was like the need to race started from Formula One, but the need to race more started from Fast and the Furious One.
Oh
I am
my
not
There we
joking.
go. There
Yeah.
we go.
So I'm a huge Paul Walker fan. I went to the place where he died. I did a
God.
donut, sort of, with the Ford Mustang GT500. At that time,
Oh,
I was studying in Toronto. So I went to LA for a show. And then I went to Valencia to the exact spot. I have it on video. I wrote on the wall, "We miss you from Bangladesh." Like, you have no idea. Like, I put neons in my car after the first Fast and the Furious movie. It
everybody's
didn't.
blaming me for that. Now here I was just going to say how it honored for me to meet the Ayrton Senna of Bangladesh because I've been reading
Thank
about
you.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I know that you're a source of national pride in your country, and your
Thank
career
you.
kind of follows in some ways Ayrton Senna if you really think about it. I saw that your results in
Hmm.
GT86, right over there
Hmm.
was that in UAE, I think it was.
Yes.
Right. So I'm thinking to myself, this guy's probably a huge deal in his country because I was trying
Hmm.
to think in my head. I follow Formula One. I'm trying to think in my and even Le Mans, and I'm trying to think to myself, have I ever seen a Bangladesh flag on the side of a
No.
race car? And I'm thinking to myself, nope, pretty sure I haven't.
No.
That's a great story. But the fact
Um,
Thank
that you
you.
put neon on the car because of the movie, why do people always blame that stuff on me?
I,
No, I'm not blaming you. I'm inspired by the movie. Like Fast and the Furious
absolutely.
1 and 3, they're my favorite installments. Anything else is just
It's
blasphemy.
Rubbish,
just no, it's just rubbish.
as the British say, rubbish.
Rubbish. Craig, your influence in the car culture is so beautifully put by Mr. Avik Anwar right here. This is what I'm talking about. The butterfly effect of you being in the right place at the right time, as you've said in so many interviews, has absolutely changed the automotive car culture all over the world, and we appreciate that. Mr. Avik Anwar, because this is the first time we're talking
Hmm.
cars with Craig, so let's talk about your cars for a bit. Even though I know a lot of the Bangladeshi people already know about your cars, the ones that you own by yourself, let's for the viewers who are abroad, who are watching us from
Hmm.
abroad, let's ask you about the cars that you own.
So I'm a huge JDM fan. I've been a JDM fan all my life. So the cars I currently own are a Honda NSX 1992, and then I have a Nissan Silvia S15 with a SR20 DET. I have the first Subaru Impreza WRX STI, the GC8 model. I have
Hmm.
Mitsubishi Evolution 10. I have a
Hmm.
Honda S2000. I have a Honda Civic Type R, the EP3, the hatchback one. Then I used to have a Silvia S14. I sold it and I regret it. So that was the only one in the country. I also have, what else do I have? I recently got a Porsche Taycan, fully electric. So I always wanted to move to electric to see what all the hype is about. My cousin has a Tesla, so I was driving it all the time, but I didn't get any rush from the Tesla. But the Porsche Taycan is something else. It's out of this world. And then I have a Skyline R32, which I'm restoring right now. And I also want to buy a R35. Initially, when I first drove the R35, I thought the car had no soul, nothing. But now when I, go out with my friends and I'm doing crazy speeds, and the R35 just go by me like this, like I'm nothing. I'm standing still. So yeah, I need R35. Probably a Nismo GTR.
No.
No?
No, Nismo is a waste of money.
Okay.
Why?
Yeah, because for the extra money you're going to spend on a Nismo, you can make a 1,000 horsepower GTR.
Ah, okay.
Oh,
Good advice.
Yeah, but if you want it for the collectability and all that kind of stuff, then yeah, there's no beating a Nismo. So.
Well, in my country, cars are like 800% more expensive than the US. So
yeah.
Who's
getting a
running around
Nismo
over
would
there?
be wiser. A GTR here, brand new, is around $1 million. Yes.
Flat out, absolutely. I love Craig's expression right now.
Maybe it's time to elect new leaders. I'm just saying.
We're not going to go into that here. We're not going to go into that here. No, that's just absolutely no, Craig.
I think you should run for office, Avik, and say, no more car tax.
No, I can't. I don't want to get into politics.
Yeah.
For my daily driver, I drive a Land Cruiser V8, which I forgot to mention. It's one of the nicest cars you can buy and drive. Like, it's just so easy to drive a big SUV.
They're big here in the United States too. The FJs and the Land Cruisers, Toyotas are very well known, especially in other countries. I go to South America, I see them all over the place. They're great.
Mm-hmm. So I was hearing you having a talk with him about your cars, and I was really impressed that you drove the GTR since the last 6 years.
Yeah,
that's very interesting. So this like affirms my decision to buy a GTR more.
You get a 2012 or newer is the car that you want. They keep softening the suspension. 2015, it got a little softer, and then in 2017, it got softer again. In 2019, it got softer again. So you probably want to stick around 2014, 2015, unless you have to have new, which I understand, but you're going to have to do some suspension stuff. But so there's a kind of a lot to it, but the basic recipe is easy. Intake, exhaust, ECU, fuel injectors. And that kind of stuff.
I've done all my research, so just I have to get down to getting the car and then putting everything on.
Yeah, $1 million for a GTR.
Yeah.
What is the let me ask you this question. What is the medium income in your country, Bangladesh?
The national GDP is $2,000 per person. The medium income should be something around $7,000.
That's a lot of money. I mean, only super rich. It seems like the classes are like really far apart in that country, I guess. Yeah. Like the rich are really rich, and then the people who are down here are struggling to get by.
Yeah, 80% people are really struggling.
It's okay. I mean, things are getting better, a lot better now, and things are changing.
We have developed a lot since our last government. Like, we have really developed a lot. There would be times when people would go without food, but now at least everybody is able to eat.
That's good.
Absolutely.
On their own. Yeah.
It's emerging power, man. It's coming up.
Yep.
That's good. But sorry.
Right. Go ahead, Craig.
Oh, I was just gonna say, but if you do get your hands on a GTR, you'll love it. And if you ever come out to Los Angeles, I only live about a half an hour south of Los Angeles. So
LA is one of my favorite places to visit in the world. Yeah. Like, it's nice all the time. And the GTR I'm getting is a used one. It's probably gonna cost me around $400,000. So it wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah.
When I was talking to Craig, Avik Bhai, when I was talking to Craig a couple of days ago, we were discussing alternate fuel sources, right? So we're going to shift the topic to that for a quick second. But before we do that, our sponsor, Jeep, has a few messages for us. So let's take a short break, and we'll be right back. And we're back. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Those of you who have just joined in, you're watching Turbine Talk with me, Shad Hussain. Turbine Talk, as you can clearly see, has been brought to you by Jeep. Today, sitting with me today for you are two very, very legendary individuals. Mr. Craig Lieberman, whose influence in the automotive car culture, and I've said this quite a few times, but I'll say it again, has really, really impacted us a lot in a very positive light. And the pride of the nation, the pioneer of race in Bangladesh, Mr. Avik Anwar. Can I have both of my guests on screen right now? Welcome back, guys, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We were moving on to a topic of alternative fuel source. Mr. Avik Anwar and Craig, this question goes out to both of you. Let's talk about the alternate fuel sources. In to give you a setup, I was talking to Craig a couple of days ago, and Craig, you very beautifully put me into perspective of the fact that electric vehicles take a long time to charge, and the perfect solution would be hydrogen fueled cars, hydrogen fuel systems. Can you please elaborate on that, Craig?
Well, electric cars in this country, it's not a huge country, but it's fairly large. The gas station for most Americans is a 5-minute visit. You pull in, you put gas in your car, and you're on your way. The battery technology that we have right now takes a long time to charge. Even with the supercharge station, it takes hours. And until we change battery technology or make batteries where you literally drive into a gas station and something unscrews the battery from your car, replaces it with a fully charged one, when you get to that level of automation, which would take decades, it's just not practical because range anxiety is a big thing. To drive to Las Vegas is 280 miles. Most electric cars can't make it that far, and that would be like the minimum 300 miles, legitimate 300 miles. Hydrogen cars, as they are adopting in Japan, would be probably a better alternative because it's like a normal fuel stop, 7 to 8 minutes to fuel it and off you go. Of course, there was that whole Hindenburg disaster back in 1937. So
Absolutely.
people, understand that hydrogen is explosive in the right conditions and with the right impact and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So there's just a lot of problems with providing the electrical energy. California, for example, every year when we have forest fires, they turn the electricity off because they're afraid the power lines are going to fall down and cause more fires. We have 40 million people in California. How are they going to, and they're turning the power off, they can't keep the lights on. How are they going to charge 40 million cars? They can't do it right now. We get rolling brownouts. So it's just not practical with the current infrastructure.
Mr. Avik Anwar, your thoughts on the same question?
I've driven a lot of hybrid cars, both petrol and electric, mostly hybrids from Toyota or Range Rover, just mixed hybrids. So mixed hybrid cars are the worst to drive. They absolutely have no soul, which Craig has mentioned before. He only likes cars with souls. Hybrid cars have zero souls. They're not fun to drive. Yes, they're fast, but under acceleration, when the battery power kicks in and you're taking a turn, you don't have any idea how the car will behave with that extra torque. So they're horrible cars to drive. Yes, they're saving the environment. They're very environment friendly. They're friendly for your pockets. You don't spend a lot of money, but they're not fun to drive. On the other hand, a fully electric car is fun to drive because it's fully electric. So you know when the power is coming in, what kind of power will you get under half throttle, full throttle. So my route would be fully electric. I've never driven a hydrogen car, so I can't really comment on that. But yeah, fully electric cars, I like how they drive. But yeah, it takes 3 days to charge my Taycan, like 72 hours. So if I didn't have any other cars, like it would be horrible. And the most fun to drive car right now in my garage is my Honda S2000. Naturally aspirated rear wheel drive. Oh, this thing is a beauty. So yeah.
That's amazing. One of the cool things that for my audience I'd like to say is I've always been heavily passionate about people learning the art of driving, and these two gentlemen who are my guests today, they've actually been trained. they've gone into driving school, professional driving school, and I was watching Craig going live on Instagram yesterday, and he kept professing on the importance of going into driving school. We're gonna ask about driving school and the importance of it to both my guests. But before I do that, let's go into the chat lines and see what's happening. Mr. Shujon VW, Shujon Bhai is a very old school patron of ours. He's been with us for a very long time. He says this episode is a milestone in Bangladeshi car culture. My respect to both guests and also to Shad Hussain and the Turbine team. Thank you, Shirun Bhai. We love you, we respect you, and we're glad that you're with us. I can see that Salman Ahmed Onono is here, Mr. Farouk is here, Ms. Aryan is here. Ms. Aryan asked about the Land Cruiser V8 that Avik Bhai probably just talked about it a few seconds ago. Mr. Neon is here. Mr. Neon has asked, or will ask Avik Bhai Neon's question in a quick bit. But before I do that, let's talk about driving schools. Craig, as I said yesterday, you were talking about how important it is to attend driving school. Can you please elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, in the United States of America, getting a driver's license is very difficult. You have to be breathing to get one, and that's pretty much it. It's really nothing. You go and you take a written test and a quick driving test. They make you make a circle around the DMV, and that's it. You get a driver's license. So as you can probably imagine, as an international destination, we have a lot of people coming here into this country to come live here, and they come from different countries, and they're trying to learn the rules of the road. They don't all speak English, that kind of stuff. But that's only just a tiny part of what we're dealing with on the roads. The other thing is a lack of driver education. And driver schools like Bob Bondurant, which is now Radford, Skip Barber, Jim Russell, Hooked on Driving, all these places exist for young people to go out and learn how to drive. Most people, young people, including my son, learn to drive from Gran Turismo. And then he gets in an actual car and he realizes that physics actually apply, and that if you crash, there's no reset button to fix the car. So there's that coming of age and that reality that happens. And the simple fact of the matter is that if you want to be faster with any car, no matter if it's a Fiat Panda or a Honda S2000, you need to go to a safe place where you can test the limits of the cars. Canyon roads are not safe places. The road conditions are unpredictable, and the consequences are severe. So, learning I learned in shifter carts, and I think, Avik, have you ever done shifter carts? Probably have, right?
Shifter cars? No, I've went to the Jim Russell Racing School to get my license.
So there you go.
So,
but he's got natural talent, okay? For people like me who don't have talent but have goals, we go to racing school so that we can become mediocre enough not to embarrass ourselves on a racetrack.
There's no racetracks here, so.
Yeah, so and the other thing, another reason why I drive a GTR, because that car forgives a lot of mistakes. You have to be really, really bad to hurt yourself in that car or make a lot of bad choices. So, but driving schools for a young person, and that is the way to have a lot of fun. And once I started doing driving schools, I never did the canyon run stuff again, where I'm going whipping through the canyons and crossing over double yellow lines, because you just can't get the same thing. You don't get a time slip out of it. You don't get a lap time. You're putting up with lives in danger, and you just don't want to risk it. But you learn from professional instructors. You might think you know something, but when you got somebody sitting next to you who's critiquing you at every inch of the track, you learn a lot more. And I can't recommend it enough.
Let me ask the same question to Mr. Avik Anwar. We already know that prior to you starting your career as a professional race car driver, you've attended a driving school, professional driving school. Can you tell us how important that is, even if you're not planning to be a professional racer? What benefits can I get if Bangladesh had a proper driving school here?
I'll explain it in a very basic way. Say we're born at the same time, you and me, and I go to school and you don't go to school. You just stay at home and learn from the environment. Like, nobody's teaching you anything. You learn from real life experiences. And then I go to school, and then I sit on a seesaw and I know how it functions. But you sit on a seesaw and you're like, oh, it just goes up and down, but you don't know the physics of it, the basics of it. So that's the thing. When you go into a racing school, you understand the physics, the basics, how a car behaves, what can you do, what's the maximum you can push it, what's the minimum you can do with it. And like Craig said, when an instructor sits next to you and he's critiquing you all the time, it really makes a difference. Like all my races, when I go abroad, I have an instructor next to me. I hire them on purpose. It costs a bit more, but it's worth it. For my instructors, I'm winning the races. If I didn't have any instructors, I would be like fourth or fifth at max, even with all the talent that I have. So an
Wow.
instructor is really important. Yeah.
Can we ask about the recent race that you won? Can you tell us about the car?
So the team had two cars, two 86s. So the red car was mine, and they did my livery and everything. I did a nice livery on the roof to commemorate our 50th language day, like Independence Day. And then the car broke down right before qualifying. Like the
Oh.
differential just broke. And then I was really sad. So they put me in the replacement car, and they're like, you can't do qualifying, so you have to start from the back of the grid. So then my instructor told me, you know what, since you're starting from the back of the grid, you have nothing to lose. Just bomb the start. I said, okay, I'll bomb the start. So it was a rolling start, and I
Mhm.
just bombed the start. And then the first corner is a right hand corner. So from the extreme left, I went to the extreme right, and they were all bottled up. And I took
Hmm.
everyone by the first corner. So I was first by turn one. And then it
That's
was
really
like
cool.
they were all fighting with each other, so it was a smooth sail home. Like I pushed the car, but since they were fighting
Right.
with each other, they were losing a lot of time, and then I cruised to victory. So yeah.
He's like James Hunt against Nicky Lauda, this guy.
He's like
That was
James
a good
Hunt.
movie. Oh, that movie is so underrated. I don't know why more people haven't watched it.
I've watched it like 3 times during COVID.
I watch it all the time. I love that movie.
That's a great racing movie.
Yeah.
Craig, have you ever driven on a track?
Have I ever driven on a track?
Right.
Yes. Yeah, oh yeah. So I've done
Share some experiences.
when you do Skip Barber School, you start off. The first one was at Laguna Seca. The second one was at Sonoma Raceway up in
Hmm.
Central California. Then I've done Button Willow. I've done Willow. I've done Auto Club Speedway. I've done Palm Beach in Florida. I've done Seattle Raceway. What am I missing? I feel like I'm missing a couple. Yeah, I've been on racetracks with different cars. Some open wheel Ford, open wheel Dodge, Bondurant's track and Firebird. That kind of. Yeah, I've been on quite a few
Oh
racetracks. Not as
man.
much as Avik, of course.
No,
But
no.
not only have I been on more tracks, I've been probably off track a lot more than Avik.
No. I've beaten you to it. I've been in so many crashes. Like there was one time I was taking a corner in free practice two, and then I lost one wheel to the edge of the track.
Yep.
So I was flipping at 150, like the car was flipping, and I was
Man.
having my life flash back in front of my eyes. I was like, okay, this is it. I'm gonna die. And then when the car settled, I was touching myself. I'm like, okay, is everything okay? And then when everything was okay, I turned the engine off because the team was like, the engine costs a lot of money. So if you're in a crash, turn the engine off.
Yeah.
So I
That's
turned
all you
the
hear on the
engine.
radio. Avik, please turn the engine off.
Yeah. And then I was like, my mom's like, why did you turn the engine off? I mean, weren't you like scared for your life? Your first instinct was to turn the engine off. I'm like, yeah, that costs a lot of money. And she's like, you cost a lot of money. Your life is more important.
Yeah, if you listen to Formula One pit radio, are you okay, mate? Are you okay, mate? Instead, for your particular, they're like, turn the engine off. Turn it off. Is it off?
Yeah.
Is it off now? How about now? Is it off?
That's what they're constantly doing.
But I want to race in Laguna Seca one day. The track I have been racing on the simulator for a lot of years. I started playing Gran Turismo when I was a little kid from 1999 in PlayStation 1, and that track has been there all the time.
Okay.
So I really want to race there.
Let me give you a tip for Laguna Seca.
Mm-hmm.
The corkscrew. When you're learning the track, when you do the walk around or the drive around, when you turn in, you're supposed to be aiming for a tree on the hill. Make sure you're aiming for the correct tree, because there's actually a couple of them. So have somebody point that out to you. Don't make the mistake I did. I am
Good advice.
that one. He goes, no, it's that one. They looked exactly the same. It's that one.
That's so
That's good
cool.
advice. Thank you.
That's free
That's
advice
so
from a hack of a driver.
Craig.
No, I'm pretty sure you drive really well.
I'm pretty sure he does too. Craig, let's talk about your days of street racing. Before we go on to that, I'd like to make a complete disclaimer, and I'm pretty sure Mr. Avik Anwar is absolutely along my side when I say that street racing at this day and age in Bangladesh is not acceptable. Our streets are not ready for that. We do not have the infrastructure where you can get away with this. So Turbine does not condone street racing, and I'm pretty sure Mr. Avik Anwar and my good guest Craig Lieberman does not condone illegal street racing. Am I right, gentlemen?
Of course.
Yes,
Who wants
correct.
their fans to die?
Yeah.
So people who watch us are car people. We don't want our fans to go out and say, I'm going to try street racing because it looks cool, and then they die or kill somebody and ruin
Right.
Yeah.
everyone's life. Nobody wants that.
Craig, let's hear about one of your most memorable experience from your days of street racing.
Well, I was at the street races before I even had a driver's license. And I remember back, this was the late 70s, early 80s. And it was different back then. People would line up on this place called Roxford Street in Sylmar, California.
Right,
Sylmar. There's two bridges, and it's very famous. But what was different back then is the cars would line up over here, and no one would stand past the starting line because apparently we had more common sense then to realize that if these cars get sideways and they jump a curb, they're going to kill you.
Mhm.
So we didn't do that. But if you watch the videos today of young people, there are people standing down there, a quarter mile down the track and they're standing, 3 inches from the sidewalk, and people are going by at 120 miles an hour. Back then, a street racing car was doing maybe 80 miles an hour, maybe 95 miles an hour, fast one. But now these cars are doing 130 miles an hour at the end of a quarter mile, and that's no joke. So my first experience is I came out there with my little Isuzu, and I got beat by a Ford Pinto, which was a horrible car. And after that, I was like, you know what? This probably isn't the car for that. So
Right.
I went a few times with friends, and we'd go hang out there and watch and look cool cars. I would walk the line of cars and take a look at cars, see some of friends, my high school or college or whatever, and talk to some people, and then I'd be gone because I was back in those days. It was about going through a nice canyon run. There's the roads up in Valencia where I grew up, where Paul passed away. I grew up there in Valencia. There's a lot of
Nice.
canyon roads you can go through where there's no traffic on back in the day. And of course, usually I was with my girlfriend on the weekend, so I didn't have time for any of that nonsense. So
The second I asked you about your experiences of road racing, street racing, I kept wondering, did this gentleman race for slips or girls?
I have never been at a race where somebody said, "Hey, man, if you beat me, you can have my girlfriend."
It's only in the movies, huh?
No, I'm not in the human trafficking business. I know because I'm Italian, we kind of got a reputation over there from Italy, with the
Hey,
hey, what are you gonna do?
what are you gonna do about it?
But there's no situation where I would risk my car for pink slips. But the usual stoplight Grand Prix, we like to call it. You pull up in a light, and the guy's up next to you starts revving and all that. As a matter of fact, fun story. I bought my Supra because I lost a street race. So this guy pulls up next to me in a Supra, and I had my supercharged Mustang 347 stroker, all built Fox body thing, da 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 da. And this guy in the Supra just left me, and I said, "All right, that's it. I'm done with this car. I've got $12,000 in this engine. I'm done. I'm done." The car I spent. Oh my goodness, I spent so much time on this stupid car. Here's a picture. This was the car. Where can you see that?
Let's see the picture.
Oh, nice.
Oh man.
And it had a built motor, supercharged 347 that I built myself. It was a fun car, but that car was gone, and I bought the Supra and then put it in the shop immediately, and it became the movie car. So I think I made the right decision.
Definitely you did.
You absolutely did, because your decision shaped a lot of us. Mr. Avik Anwar, let me ask you something, and I've always asked you this every time I've had you on my show, but this time I've got people from a different countries watching us today as well. So, as a professional racer, I'm going to ask you a single a question, and I'll go back to Craig with the same question again. As a professional racer, what advice can you give to an everyday driver to make his driving better?
The best advice that I give everyone, even as a normal person and a professional driver, is power is nothing without control. So our cars have enough power nowadays. Even normal cars have like 150, 60 horsepower. Back in the day, 150, 60 you would get from a performance engine. So power is nothing without control. Upgrade your brakes first and put good road tires on. Those are the things that matter the most when you're on the roads. Not how fast you can go, but how fast you can stop.
How fast
So
you can
yeah,
stop.
yeah. So that's the biggest advice. And one more thing, Craig, my team was Italian in Dubai this time, and then one race it was in Yas Marina, and I was fourth, and I finished the checkered flag side by side with the fourth place guy. I overtook him, and I was third, he was fourth. And every lap, my team boss, he was so passionate, he would come to the pit wall and he would wave me like, go faster, go. Even though he had radio, he would still move his hand, go faster.
He would show you.
Pit board. You know, the pit boards, they hold the pit boards.
Someone was holding the pit board. He was still outside the pit wall. He was on the radio with me. He was still showing me his hand and like, go faster. Like, they're very passionate. Like, Italian people are very passionate. That's the whole point.
Craig, let me ask you, if because you know I was watching you, and I have been watching you for a very long time, but because I caught you live yesterday, and you had expressed the importance of driving school. Can you give us, the viewers, a tip about driving? What to make us a better driver?
Okay. Number one, look ahead. Okay. If you're looking at the back bumper of the car that's right in front of you, you're doing it wrong. Okay. You should be looking 8 seconds down the road. Okay. That's number one. Number two, driving position is extremely crucial. If you're one of these guys who drives like you're in a rap video, you drive like my Italian uncle. Hey, how you doing? What's going on over here? What do you guys? You got to keep my hand free for the babes. Okay, if you've got the steering wheel, where's my steering wheel prop? The steering wheel should be like this. If your steering wheel is like this, okay, it's laid down, you got the tilt all the way up, you should not be driving the car. Okay, arms should be bent. Avik will tell you, your arms need to be bent, because when you're driving like this, you can only go this far in the steering wheel. When you're driving like this, you can go all the way around. Okay.
Okay.
So looking ahead, your eye, by the time you're 25 years old, your hand-eye coordination is pretty well developed. So if you look where you want to go, your hands will naturally try and get you there. Okay. If you look where you don't want to go, you will absolutely go there. It's like, you're coming up on an apex on a track, and it's an HPD event. You got a cone sitting there, and you're staring at the cone. You're not looking through the corner, right? You're not looking where you're supposed to go over there. You're looking at the cone. Guarantee you're going to hit the cone. Look ahead. Those are the two things.
Yep, I agree. I concur. Whatever he said.
That's amazing. That's really cool. With your driving stance, I wish, I'm glad my dad isn't here. If my dad saw this, my dad would just hit me in the back of my head and say, I told you. Both hands on the steering wheel, 10 and 4. What is that? 10 and 2.
9 and 3, not 10
9
and
and 3. 9 and
10
3.
and 4,
Sorry.
what are you doing over here?
9 and 3.
You meant 10 and 2. That's the way they taught us in old white guy driving school. 10 and 2. Turns out it's 9 and 3. Okay.
It's 9 and 3.
If you've ever been in a formula car, an open wheel car, something with a small steering wheel, you're not at 10 and 2. Because 10 and 2, your thumbs are pretty much touching with a small steering wheel. 9 and 3.
True. Let's, Mr. Avik Anwar, let's go back to you. Before we're almost towards the end of the show, but before we finish up, what are your future plans?
This year I was supposed to go race in the Nürburgring Nordschleife. So I've been talking to a team about that. But since due to the COVID situation, the entry is very difficult into Germany right now. with
Mm-hmm.
our passport, but we are still trying. So it'll be two races, and then it'll be a 2 hour endurance race, which I have to do alone at the Nordschleife, which is
Mm-hmm.
very, very difficult and challenging for the body. And right now, I'm not working out or going to the gym or anything. I'm just taking a break from everything. I'm not even on the simulator. I don't go work out. I'm just fasting and enjoying life. I just want to take a break from everything for a month, and then I will get back to it. So that, and then I have the Malaysian Championship Series racing, which starts from May, end of May. But even access to Malaysia is very, very hard because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like in the middle of a lot of difficult choices. And then in June, the Indian series will start. So even going to India is difficult now. It's our neighboring country, but
Wow.
still. So yeah, it's tough.
Wow.
But I will find a way. I will figure out a way to make our nation proud.
We absolutely hope that you do. Mr. Avik Anwar, it goes without saying that it doesn't matter whether we think it or whether we don't. You have always done what your heart desires, and we are absolutely proud of what you have achieved. We wish you,
Thank you.
I especially wish you, brother, the very, very absolute best. And I
Thank
hope
you. Thank you
your
so much.
journey keeps going up. It keeps going up.
Inshallah. Inshallah. Mr. Craig, it was very nice meeting you. I can't tell you how much those films have affected my life in terms of racing. I had a very tough teenage years, and the Fast and the Furious movies got me through it. No jokes. Like it would be those movies and my cars. I can't tell you how many times I've watched FNF1 and FNF3. So yeah, it's a huge pleasure to meet you. Like I would have never been able to do it without Shad. So definitely I will hit you up when I'm in LA and we'll do some canyon runs. I did
Oh
one
yeah.
already
Oh yeah.
with the
Let you drive the
Mustang.
GTR.
So yeah, I'll just follow you. I'll rent a car and I'll just follow you.
Yeah, that would
Yeah,
be
I'd
That
like
way
to
great.
I'll
join.
learn more.
But if you crash my GTR, make sure you turn the engine off because it's expensive.
I will. I will. Definitely.
Hey, I'd like to join you guys.
Yeah,
I'd be
well,
Please.
driving I'd
open
be driving a
invitation.
Ford Pinto. I'd be driving a Ford Pinto.
I don't know this man.
Avik Bhai, thank you very much for being with us. We appreciate you, brother. Lots of love.
Very welcome.
Best regards to your family.
Thank you for having me. Bye guys. Take care. Allah Hafiz.
Craig, this it's been amazing so far. We really appreciate the time that you've spent with us. It was eye-opening for a lot of us. Before I move on to the final few questions with you, let's see what's happening in the chat boards, in the chat lines. So, Mr. Ashrafi Neon, he says that in our country we can go to foreign country, famous universities for studies, qualification. Can we do the same thing for Bangladesh for going on a race school? I wish I had asked this question to Avik Anwar, Mr. Avik Anwar, a few seconds ago. I think he would have a better answer for that question. Let's move on. Mr. Devan says, seeing the R34 and the Supra from the first two Fast and Furious movies in Craig's background. I think they want to take a look at the background. Can we do this, Craig? Can you
Yeah,
show us a little bit of your background?
sure. Let me take the phone off this. Sorry for my hand in the way, but let me do this.
That's fine.
All right. I don't know how to turn this around here, but let's try it this way. All right. You should be able to see. There we go. Can you see?
Yeah, we can. Wow.
Okay. All right. So these are posters made by a guy in Malaysia. His Instagram is at Art Tuners.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hard to do it upside down. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Everything's reversed, so it's all screwy. So I'll just do it far back like this.
Sure. Sure.
So those are the two posters there. These plaques up here, that's my 100,000 subscriber YouTube plaque in the middle. These two plaques are memorial plaques I got from Universal for working on the movie. That's the original tickets to the actual premiere night in Hollywood.
Wow.
Thank you letter from Universal, tickets to the theater to see it at premiere night. And this is the same thing for the first movie. And then got some props over here. Some pictures of my cars on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
What else we got over here? My wife's Audi, my GTR.
Oh, damn it.
Some more pictures on the wall, my cars over the years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Kind of stuff. So we're in the process of a remodel of the studio, so forgive the clutter. But
no, it's good.
This is my working space. And then I have a studio upstairs where I do all my editing myself.
The studio looks, your workspace looks amazing. I'm going to take one more question from the audience, then we're going to go into a break. Mr. Rahman has asked a question for Craig. What do you think of the new M3?
Well, are we talking about the one with the big ugly grill?
Man, the grill, what were they thinking?
I don't know. Sometimes, I've learned something in my age is that sometimes when a car comes out, you don't like the looks of it initially, but eventually it becomes classic to an extent and you like it. I can say that is not going to happen with the M3 for me.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I'm always going to hate the front grille on this car, but time will see. And when I first saw the GTR, I didn't like the back end of the car very much, but it grew on me over time. But it's a little different. It's not really as hideous as the M3 in my humble opinion. So, but I think M3 cars, I'll tell you this, I used to do consulting for JD Powers, which is a company that reviews cars in the United States.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
There was a time when I was going from dealership to dealership with a brand new BMW, a brand new Mercedes, and a brand new Lexus to teach the salespeople how to sell against the competition. And by far, my favorite car of that bunch was the BMW 535, which is a twin turbo. It was a big car built on the old 7 Series chassis against the E350 and the GS350 Lexus. There's something special when you drive an M3. The way the steering is set up on those cars, now they've become more numb because the way they're doing it with the electric assist, it's a different thing. I think the M3s, the M cars in general are superb. I think that's a terrible disservice putting an M badge on a car that's not an M badge.
That's not an M badge.
With the F Sport, I think it's watering down the brand. I've said that publicly for 10 years, and they should stop doing it.
I read that.
Whatever. I think M's are great cars. It's just, if you don't like the looks, it's the same thing again, like when you marry a spouse, right? It doesn't have to be the best looking human in the country and you live or within the world. It has to be one that's a good fit for you. So
true, very true. On that note, let's just take a very short, last short break, and we'll come back and we'll ask a very interesting question to Craig, and we'll hear his final thoughts. Ladies and gentlemen, this was an amazing show today. We're just going to take a very short break, and when we return, we'll talk more with Craig. This is Turbine Talk, a special edition of Turbine Talk, brought to you by Shad Hussain, and I am your host. Brought to you by Jeep, and I am your host, Shad Hussain. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Turbine Talk, brought to you by Jeep. I'm your host, Shad Hussain. We had an amazing show today. It was an absolute honor to bring to you the legend, the man behind the legendary Fast and the Furious. It was an honor for me to once again bring to you Mr. Avik Anwar, who had just recently won so many things, and we wish Avik Anwar the absolute best. Lots of love for Avik Anwar. Craig, a couple of days ago, you and I were talking, and you had said this one line, and I quote, and I hope I'm not misquoting you here. You said, "Cars are like canvases where we paint speed." Craig, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, so you said to me, cars are like canvases where we paint the picture of speed. Can you please elaborate on that? That was a beautiful line.
Yeah, it wasn't my line. I forget who first said it, but I adopted it probably 20 years ago. So whoever created it was a genius. Basically, it goes like this. Cars are canvases on which we attempt to create images of speed and beauty. In other words, we want to make our cars look fast and we want to make them good looking. Of course, everybody's definition of what is good looking is different. But ultimately, the spirit of that comment is it is your canvas. It is your creation created to reflect your personality. There is no right. There is no wrong. And just like decorating your house, there's some people are going to not like the art that you put on the wall, and
Sure.
some people will. So don't let that discourage you.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful way of putting it. Craig, let me ask you a very interesting question. What do you think is the most underrated performance upgrade for a car?
Underrated. Well, the difficult words like underrated and overrated. Well, probably underrated. If I had to pick one, maybe nitrous oxide. A lot of people don't understand what nitrous oxide is and how to properly use it and all of its potential uses. And so people tend to shy away from it. I don't know the regulations in your country, but nitrous oxide is a great way to make horsepower cheap, right?
Yeah.
So I've been using nitrous oxide for, well, let me put my Mustang. When I bought that car in 1993, the nitrous system arrived before the car. It was already at my house
Really?
for me. The day I ordered the car. Sorry, go ahead.
Let me ask you this. So, yeah, in the movies, when we see the hero put on the nitrous, shoot the nitrous, does it actually work like that?
No, you do not go into warp speed like the Starship Enterprise. No, I can tell you, you will not be breaking the sound barrier. You will not be breaking the speed of light. So no.
So you're saying I'm not gonna see the environment or go all blurry and everything?
That was a topic of debate. Anyway, a nitrous system, if you're running a 300 horsepower engine, you could probably put a 60 or 75 shot of nitrous on it. And 75 horsepower, you're going to feel that amount of horsepower. Now, if you have a 106 horsepower Fiat Panda, you're going to put a 20 horsepower shot on it and pray to God that it doesn't blow up.
You hate pandas, don't you?
No, I just use it because when I'm talking to international audiences, I don't know every car that they have for sale in their country. Generally speaking, gas is expensive, really expensive all over the world. We're complaining about $4 a gallon here, right? It was $3 a year ago. My E85 is $2.50 a gallon, so it's nothing in the So it doesn't make sense for other countries like Central America to be driving cars where it's $8 a gallon and they're getting 15 miles to the gallon. It doesn't make sense. So a lot of these countries use small engines, 1.2, 1.4. So I think nitrous oxide is a great modification to put on a car within reason if you know what you're doing. And if you don't, you better have a backup car.
Craig, I've got somebody in the chat line who's commenting on your Bride racing seat. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's for sale.
Yes, but shipping to a foreign country would be very expensive.
Very, very expensive.
Very.
Craig, can you show us what has just recently arrived to you?
Oh, yeah. So, okay, hang on. Let me get this.
I wish Avik Anwar was here for this. He would love this. I apologize that I didn't bring this up sooner.
Ah, okay. Let me get my hands on it. Where did I put it? Hang on a second. I just put it down.
I hope you didn't lose it.
What did I do with it? I just had the darn thing. Where did it go? Ah, there it is. Buried it on my paper. So, for you fans of the movie, you might recognize this little prop.
Check this out, guys. Brian Earl Spillner. What does he look like? A serial killer or something? That's
What's
talent
interesting
for the
is
movie. Yeah.
it has a fake credit card in here that has
Oh wow!
his birth date, September 12th, 1973, and his date of passing, November 30th, 2013.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
That's in there. And then it has a fake Social Security card.
Hmm.
So if anybody's trying to get citizenship with that card, I'd say, let me just tell you right now, it's not going to work. Just so you know. But
We're not getting into that.
But you
Yeah,
can
go
get
ahead.
it from Fast and Furious or FATF Maxima on Instagram. They're about $60 for the wallet and all the prop cards. So I know it's a lot of money for some people, but if you're really a diehard collector, if you're Avik, who goes out and buys $1 million GTRs, you probably can swing it.
That was really cool, Craig. This was an amazing an hour and more, a little over an hour and a half actually. It was. I grew up watching you. The day I released here's a fun thing. The day I released the promo about our interview, one of my friends called me up, Mr. Osman Tahir Tanuf. He's the managing director of Hotel Tower Inn. He called me up and he goes like, buddy, do you remember that when we were in school, we used to borrow the Fast and Furious DVD from an XYZ friend from Zubair Sadek? And I was like, yeah, we did. I remember. Do you remember in the end, towards the end of it, the extras had an interview segment of Craig Lieberman, and I was like, oh yeah, that's true. Craig, they say you should never meet your heroes. I've never had that, not with you. I've had nothing but a positive thing with you. I appreciate you being here with us. We have lots and lots of love for you. And like everybody's asking, would you like to visit Bangladesh? I've already told Craig that Bangladesh, welcome Craig.
I would be
very
happy
soon.
to
And
do so. I actually did my next appearance. The guys from Chrome Cars are flying me out to Nordschleife once Germany opens up to do a book signing and an appearance there because they collect movie cars. And then there's going to be another appearance after that, like a month later. So as soon as it opens, I'm going to do that. I've already done Sweden. I've done Canada. I've done, years ago. Well, that was a while ago. But Thailand. I haven't been to Bangladesh yet. So, but I'd love to see it.
We're gonna have to have you here. We're gonna have to have you here. One quick question before we finish this up, Craig. People hate me for this, right? People hate me for this. What do you think of the new Supra?
Well, I saw the actual FT1 the day it rolled off the truck at Cars and Coffee here in Irvine, California.
Right.
The FT1 was proportioned differently. It had a very long nose, right? It felt more like a Ferrari Gaglietti, one of those kind of cars, or even a Datsun.
Right.
And I said, if they make it this way, I will buy it. Then when I saw the new car, I said, okay, the proportions are off. It's a stubby little car. It doesn't have the super wraparound dash. The engine is fine. People say it should be a 2JZ. They don't understand the laws in this country. The B58 is a fine engine. Steph Papadakis is already making 1,000 horsepower with that car. It's not the engine I don't like. I don't like the fact that it's all BMW and the interior has none of the Supra history in it. And the other thing is, it's just too small. It is like I think the FT86 is actually bigger than this car inside and out. And it's just too small for me. I mean, I can fit in the car, no problem. It just doesn't have I mean, there's nothing I can do with that car. No, I'm out. I mean, I think it's a good looking car. I think with all the wide body kits we're going to see on these cars and stuff that seem, I think it's going to be fantastic. It's a good looking car when it's all done up. Magnificent looking car. It looks fine now. I'm past my initial reservation. But it's just not a car I would buy. I would be more inclined to buy the 400Z and do something with that.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely. People hate me for this because I just can't stand that car. I just can't stand the new Supra. The design, I mean, the design aspect of it. Performance is performance, sure, man.
Yeah, it's great. It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. But the design aspect of it, I can't tolerate it. I've got a last question from Nihan Rashid. Nihan Rashid is actually a very, very highly talented writer. Nihan Rashid has asked, is it true that Vin Diesel declined to appear in the sequel despite being offered $25 million to reprise his role, because he was not happy with the script? I'm not sure if Craig would know this, but Craig, do you know this?
I do know it. That rumor is absolutely true because he was not happy with the script. So he's talking about Tokyo Drift, I think, because was it Tokyo Drift or Too Fast? If you have to look at my notes, but essentially, it was that he wasn't happy with the script. Also, Rob Cohen, the director from the first movie, basically attached himself to Vin Diesel, and they went off to go do Triple X, and then Diesel wanted to do Chronicles of Riddick and Pitch Black and all that, and those movies did not do nearly as well as they thought they were going to do. So Vin came back at the end of Tokyo Drift in that final scene, after Justin Lin literally went to his house and sat by the pool and begged him to come back, and basically Vin Diesel said, if you give me the complete rights to the Chronicles of Riddick to the Riddick character, then I'll come back. Okay, and that's the way that went down. That's public information. It's on the news boards here in the United States. You can look around. So
okay.
So,
Nihan has go ahead.
And I see he's asking about the R34 in the movie.
Right.
Says, with all the rules and regulations placed, considering the car wasn't 25 years old. So I did a video about this a while back about the Nissan Skyline being in Too Fast, Too Furious. It was about how a Neon SRT4 was almost the car instead of the R34. In that video, I basically explained that we had to buy 4 from Japan to bring them over, 3 more from Japan. When we bought 4 from Japan, plus my car was a 5th, and another one from England, which was a 6th. So it was very difficult to get them over here, but we did not federalize them. They came in as movie props, so we didn't have to do any paperwork other than a bond, and that was it. So we got the cars over here within a couple of weeks. We paid $48,000 a piece for the cars and $13,000 to ship them.
Really? That's so cool.
This is what they were going for in 2002. Again, they were not federally legalized in this country, which is a process that adds about $25,000 per car.
True. Craig.
Good question.
Craig, I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know you're a busy man. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to be with us here today. As you clearly can see, you've got a huge fan base here. We appreciate your influence in the car culture and the butterfly effect. Like I said, the butterfly effect, you have changed lives. You've changed people's perception on a lot of things. You've defined what is cool. You've defined what is cool to have in a car. And we appreciate
people give me way too much credit, man. I was just one person in a giant machine, and a lot of people were involved in that. And of course, let's not forget the tuners themselves, who were the general inspiration for the movie's concept in the first place. So
true.
I was just a guy who was just kind of there corralling things and trying to, make it easy for them to make decisions, that kind of thing. So, but
we appreciate what you do. No, we appreciate what you did. Thank you for sticking to your guns as much as you could. I know it probably was a difficult process to constantly tell the producers, no, this is wrong, that's wrong, you should be doing this. I'm pretty sure it was very difficult for you, but we appreciate the things that you've done. Craig, any last thoughts?
Well, I want to tell you how honored I am to be doing this with you, because some of these podcasts we do, people when they get on it, they say that sometimes that the car enthusiast, but it's clear that you and your audience are absolutely car enthusiasts. So it drives my energy level up, and I like that about doing this and telling these stories. And I only wish I could do it in person, because as much fun as this has been, it's even more fun in person. So
We got to get that happening.
yeah, so if I ever get over to Bangladesh, you guys get me over there, and we'll have a big dinner. I can tell all kinds of stories, and that's a lot of fun, especially with you guys, hanging out in the little club thing and doing what you do and enjoying a good stogie or whatever it is your jam is, right?
True.
Or the hookah. They got me into hookah years ago.
Oh, did you not?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't be doing that here. Not anymore. I don't think we can. So that's why we vape and smoke.
Oh, they're not allowed to hookah anymore?
I don't think it is. I don't remember the last time I had a hookah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
right, we'll
but
skip that.
I'm sure we'll figure something out.
All right. Well, as long as they have Frappuccino, we're good.
We'll get you some.
Okay.
Craig, thank you very much for being with us here today. We appreciate what you did once again. Thank you. Lots of love, brother, and I hope that you come back very soon to us. I hope that we can one day sit and I get to join you and Avik Anwar with a
Oh, that would be
Pinto.
great. That would be great.
Pinto. I'll be driving a Pinto.
Yeah. Well, make sure everybody's following me on YouTube if they want information. I'm starting to
Yeah.
branch out with other car videos and that kind of stuff.
Where can people follow you?
YouTube, just under my name, Craig Lieberman. And they can also follow me on Instagram, Craig Lieberman _42. So I'm sure you'll put links in here.
For my viewers here, I'll put Craig's socials on my description, and you can catch him. He does amazing live shows. He does a podcast style content that's really informative, and it's really interesting. I always love it. I enjoy it. Craig, thank you once again. I hope
My pleasure.
you
It
stay
was a
safe.
lot.
All right, Craig. Take care. Ladies and gentlemen, and with that, we're about to wrap up the show. This was an amazing show. I loved it. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. I appreciate the turnout that we had. Everybody, let's go to the chat lines and check quickly. I see Mr. Omar Ahmed was here. Mr. Omar Ahmed, thank you for being here with us. Mr. Bivan was here. Mr. Neon was here. Nihan Rashid was here. Farouk was here. Ms. Fairuz Nahreen was here. Mr. Farhan Haq was here. Thank you, everybody, for your wonderful comments. This was a one-time thing. We'll be back once again in the near future, but I cannot guarantee you when. But when we do, I guarantee you that you're going to enjoy what we have to bring for you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, this is COVID situation. Please be home, be safe, and if you have to go out, wear a damn mask. It's very easy to do. Take care, ladies and gentlemen. Good night. I wish you the very best. It was Turbine Talk. I was your host, Shad Hussain, and this show was brought to you by Jeep. Thank you and good night.